9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday. This is your PR princess, your timeless elite, Stone Cold Courtney, joining with you, because if you were with me on the watch along for Timeless Elite Wednesday with AEW Dynamite, celebrating 6 years of Dynamite, it was an interesting episode. As we get through this, obviously it has been a busy week, because we had not only AEW Dynamite, we also had last night with NXT with this showdown. This showdown a lot of people are having, and also we do have Monday Night Raw to catch up on. But trying to get this fresh in your mind, we're just going to go through AEW Dynamite since I have this fresh in my brain. And it take you right back to Hollywood, Florida, as I mentioned, celebrating 6 years of Dynamite, and that's an accomplishment. Congratulations to Tony Khan and everybody in AEW for celebrating this milestone. And they started off hot, where we saw the reigning AEW Tag Team Champions Brodino and the returning Kenny Omega taking on Josh Alexander and the Young Bucks. They were also called the Broke Bucks on the trios match. If you know, you know, because the money that they won a couple weeks ago, they ran off on their money. So that was very interesting to watch. Definitely a hard-hitting match between both of these trios. It was definitely nice to watch, and it looks like Kenny Omega, Brodino didn't skip a beat. It was fun getting the energy there, but also getting the match. It was Brodino and Kenny Omega. They got the win, but also after the match was very interesting, because we got to see Josh Alexander and the rest of the Don Callis family put a beat down in, but we saw the return of Jurassic Express. Jack Perry and Luchasaurus made a comeback at AEW All Out in Toronto. Obviously, of course, taking out the Young Bucks, but it looks like Kenny Omega and Jack Perry had a very heated exchange, and I think that's still another layer that they really have to think about. But Jungle Express and the Young Bucks still has some issues, so there is going to be a match against them in the future. But Kenny stays back in the ring, and of course, he talks about the 6-year celebration of AEW Dynamite and appreciate everybody who's been along for the ride. But when the lights go out, we see a surprise by none other than Andrade. Andrade, shockingly enough, which I did not think it was going to happen, he made a shockingly return, and it looks like he is joining the Don Callis family. Lots of things happening. Obviously, AEW showed a montage of the 6-year anniversary of Dynamite from the first 6 years, from all the biggest moments that happened. And we did see Mark Briscoe cutting a promo backstage, obviously talking about his match at MJF at All Out in Toronto, and also MJF costing him the TNT Championship match, and also being in support of his friend Orange Cassidy as he faces off against Kyle Fletcher for the AEW TNT Championship. Originally, Hologram was supposed to, but he is going to be out for the remainder of the year. It was a really good match between Kyle Fletcher and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's been around from the beginning of AEW, so it was definitely nice to see him go one-on-one. Everything else is happening. Definitely a good match to add, and also really catapulting Kyle Fletcher into a top star in AEW. But winner and still AEW TNT champion is Kyle Fletcher. We did see Hologram's evil twin brother, because that was not Hologram, that was the evil Hologram. Unfortunately, Kyle Fletcher and the evil Hologram beat down Orange Cassidy until Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Mark Briscoe came in and it looks like the Don Callis family is growing and growing by the numbers. And it looks like everybody in the conglomeration is going to need some help. Obviously, Tomohiro Ishii is a part of the conglomeration, but they're going to need more than Ish. And this is going to be something that's going to really boil over in the coming weeks. So it's more stronger, more dangerous than ever within the Don Callis family. We also did see Mercedes Moné backstage, where she did put out an open challenge to anybody that lives in Jacksonville in Daly's Place next Tuesday for Title Tuesday. She will be putting her TBS title online. So it'll be very interesting to see. And also they did talk about the women's tag team titles. And also the $1 million question is, who will be Mercedes' tag team partner? Obviously, Harley Cameron really wanted to stick her nose in, but Mercedes obliged. She said no. That's going to be the occurring $1 million question on who will be Mercedes Moné tag team partner in the match. And we also had a trios match. Hangman Adam Page, the reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and the Ops, Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, taking on the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Jon Moxley. It was a hard-hitting trios match. It did what it needed supposed to do. It was very good. Happy to see that happening. But of course, the winner of the match was Hangman Adam Page and the Ops. But after the match was very interesting because there seems to be a scuffle between Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page. Powerhouse Hobbs tried to keep everything calm, but of course they had to bring security in and temper his flare. And apparently we are getting another match for Wrestle Dream for the AEW World Heavyweight title. Samoa Joe taking on Hangman Adam Page. And we did find out that Hangman Adam Page has not beaten Samoa Joe. So that is definitely something to really watch, and it will be very interesting. It was a very interesting, yes, Dylan, it was a very one, but I'm going through everything else. Up next, we had my lady of the hour, Toni Storm, taking on Ty Medlow. Very solid one-on-one match. It did what it needed to do. I was happy to see Ty in action, but the winner of the match was Timeless Toni Storm. Pretty much she cut a promo after the match, and she pretty much challenged. She called Chris Statlander out, saying she's not finished with her, and she wants to meet her one-on-one. Not fatal four-way, not triple threat, one-on-one. And it will be at Wrestle Dream for the AEW Women's Championship match. Chris Statlander, Timeless Toni Storm, one-on-one. I smell a lot of fishiness and shenanigans in that match because something doesn't seem right. We also got to see the Gates of Agony, Bishop Kong, and Tayo Leona against the Swirl with Ricochet on commentary. Thankfully, it was not a squash match. I was very happy it wasn't a squash match, but obviously hard-hitting match between both teams, but the winner of the match was the Gates of Agony. We got to see the Hurt Syndicate come out, and obviously MVP doing a promo, and a lot of us know he's from the 305 area, which is not a surprise. And he threw out the challenge to the Gates of Agony and Ricochet for next week on Tuesday in a street fight. And it will be a street fight. The Hurt Syndicate taking on the Gates of Agony and Ricochet. And also we do have another match that apparently Don Callis threw it out there to Brodino next week for the AEW tag team titles. It will be Okada and Konosuke Takeshita teaming up together next Tuesday. It'll be very interesting to see it. And then we head into our main event. Darby Allin and Chris Statlander teaming up for the first time. And this was Darby Allin's first time in mixed tag team action against the Death Riders, Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta. It was a hard-fitting match. It will be a very hard-fitting match between both teams, and it did what it needed to do to help out not just Darby Allin in his main event against Jon Moxley, but very happy to see. And this is one of the Even though I didn't get Willow versus Marina Shafir, I was very happy to see Marina Shafir take on Chris Statlander. And Chris Statlander was not a woman you wanted to mess with. Very solid match in the main event. Winners of this match was Darby Allin and Chris Statlander. After the match, we got to see Chris Statlander and Toni Storm go to blows because obviously they'll be going one-on-one with Wrestle Dream. But also Darby Allin got the upper hand with the Death Riders again and ahead of the I Quit match, and Moxley pretty much put a threat onto Darby Allin, pretty much saying it'll take a miracle for him to win because pretty much it'll be 6-on-1. But pretty much that's how it ended. AEW Dynamite. It was a very interesting anniversary show. I kind of wish they umped it up a little bit, considering it was 6 years, which is a very, very hard feat to do within 6 years. And also, I wish they kind of did a lot of montages of it. I only saw one. But speaking of everything else and helping me with the recap from AEW Dynamite, I'm not doing this alone. We do have our leading lady of WWT Live, our boss lady, TK Trinidad.
What's up? What's up? What's up? First off, I just want to say I definitely want to give you your shout for all the work you're doing, and you are definitely on the docket for getting the raise. So y'all who are watching and listening, you could tell said that he's gonna have to wait in line because Courtney is in the building. That's what we're gonna say. But yeah, let's. Did you finish up AEW?
Well, I ran through the results. I'm just getting my own feedback because it was a very interesting 6-year anniversary because I felt like they didn't do a lot of montages. They only did one.
Didn't it go a little bit longer? Because I think you said it was supposed to end like an hour and it went over 20 or 30 minutes. Or am I?
Yeah, they did say it was going to end at 10:30. Like they announced it last week. They were doing 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting because I felt like throughout the whole show, I thought at least they were going to do montages, but they only did one. And I noticed a lot of them are on socials. And I was just like, that could have been very interesting because you could have done montages unlike Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's been there from the beginning, and he has so many memorable matches on AEW. Even with Moxley, he was there on the 2nd or 3rd episode of Dynamite. And you could have did so much. And even with Kenny's been there from the beginning. Obviously, the Young Bucks have been there from the beginning. But just seeing that, I just wish they did do a lot of montages on the 6 years. Because for them to be there for 6 years, that's pretty impressive. Because people thought they were going to die. The people thought they were going to be out of business. But being there for 6 years, at least they could have done something. I was very happy to see Bryan Danielson on commentary. And also with the fact, too, we do have the Death Riders, but you're getting a team AEW to fight with each other, which the whole point is you're trying to at least get the Death Riders involved, because anytime you have a cohesive unit against the Death Riders, egos get in the way. So I don't know where we're going to go with this. And also with Toni, I love Toni Storm with all my heart, but as much as I would love for her to be a multi-time, 5-time women's champion, I just smell something fishy in her match against Wrestle Dream with Chris Statlander. With the fact there's also issues with the Death Riders with Chris Statlander. So there's a lot of fishiness. I kind of smell that I don't think is going to go well in her favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Did they make mention of Cody at all? I mean, obviously I know he's in a different company, but he was kind of one of the reasons why AEW started.
It's very interesting. I didn't see no mention of Cody on the montage. I did not see any mention of Cody on the montage, which is very surprisingly because obviously I know they did it with Brody Lee.
Mm-hmm.
They did it with Brody, but I didn't hear much of Cody.
Well, there it is. I mean, when AEW started, we all kind of know what it is. So
yeah, it's just like Cody kind of said his piece a couple weeks ago. He said it in an interview, and it just like, wow. we kind of know where that went.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Anything else that we missed as far as AEW for those folks who didn't get a chance to watch it?
It's very interesting. Next Tuesday, it'll be Title Tuesday. AEW Dynamite will be on next Tuesday. It will not be on Wednesday, obviously, because we know it is baseball. It is baseball postseason that's happening. So next Tuesday, it'll be Title Tuesday. It'll be Title Tuesday. I will be doing a watch along next week for Title Tuesday. And I believe Collision will be on next Wednesday. I believe it'll be on it. I have to double check. But it is going to be at Daly's Place for Title Tuesday. We do have a few matches. Mercedes Moné is going to be doing an open challenge for her TBS title, and she's almost as close on breaking Jade's record. She's almost there. So she will be the longest reigning TBS champion.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like they're not, they're, both companies are maybe trying not to be petty, or maybe they are, I don't know. But yeah, it makes sense since Jade has crossed over to WWE to try to break her title. The funny thing is, if Mercedes ever goes back to WWE, like, would they try to break Mercedes' title? And like, who would do that? I mean, we have a lot of wrestling to go, but you know,
we do. I can't even put my finger on it. I'm just very curious on what's next for her, but I'm just gonna sit back and just watch. Yep. I don't want to make any predictions. And also, I did see reports floating that allegedly Athena will be taking a break, so we won't see her on TV for a while.
Really? But she's not gonna drop her championships. There's no way.
No, I don't think she's gonna drop it. But I was saying this to Honey over the weekend. I think Mercedes needs to back away from the AEW women's title, only because, as I mentioned with Chris Statler with the Death Riders, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how she's going to get in the crossfires unless she pays somebody to get her the belt, unless she pays Marina Shafir, which I don't even know how that would work. That's the only way I could see it, if she pays Marina Shafir.
Yeah, I'm really curious, and we'll get to, I guess, the final story as far as, or we can kind of get to it now since it's AEW. So I had the for folks who haven't seen it, I had the pleasure of interviewing Taya, and I was asking her about, where she sees Mercedes and, how it's good. Are you drinking wine?
Sparkling cider.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not judging. I was like, yeah, it seems like one of those nights.
It has to be for 6 years. For this one, it was like, you know what, they're not celebrating, so it's like I might as well throw confetti.
There it is. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how we're gonna see it like happen, because Mercedes did say she wants to go for 12. So will that actually happen? And then how do we go about, because as you know, and for folks who watch this, I like reading the book from the back. So it's just kind of like, is she gonna be the champion forever, like Athena is, or eventually she's gonna have to give up these titles, and what does that look like? So I'm curious how that's gonna play out.
I actually said this because I said Alex Windsor would be the one to do it. It's just depending on time.
Right.
I did mention Full Gear, because by that time, because she has to make sure her man just got out of surgery, she has to make sure like everything is good over with him, and like he's able to at least do some stuff without too much of her assistance, so at least she's good to go. That's why Alex Windsor hasn't been there for the last couple of weeks, because Ospreay just had surgery. So hopefully, if everything goes well, we could see her back after Wrestle Dream. I would not mind seeing Alex Windsor to be the one, because if you're really gonna character develop her and have her push, because the last match they had was really good. I really thought it was going to end in a draw. It looked like it was going to end in a draw, and it didn't look like Alex Windsor was weak. I just think they need to go back a bit. And also with the fact too, Mercedes did take jabs at her man. So I think Alex needs a little bit of a look back and take jabs at Mercedes.
We're definitely gonna see what happens with that, but with AEW, definitely check out that Taya Valkyrie interview, because she definitely talked about the difference between AEW crowds and WWE crowds. But yeah, definitely want to give her a shout out. It was an incredible interview. It was an incredible venue. So yeah, check out the interview and her music. So there is that. I don't know if did you get a chance to see the interview?
I saw a little bit of it. I did see a
Yeah.
little bit of it, and also the one you posted about which housewives of wrestling does she want?
I mean, and it's so funny because all the housewives that she named, except for Queen Aminata, I've interviewed, and I think like her lineup would be amazing. Like I would watch that. I would actually put that over Total Divas, because now you're wondering, like, okay, beyond the wrestling, how does this work? Like, who cooks dinner? Does anybody cook dinner? Like, could you see like Melissa Santos and Brian Cage? What does that look like? What does that look like?
God.
Like that, I would watch that.
I think Brian cooks it, because there was a few times he posted on social. He's done it.
Right.
He's done it.
I think Melissa can cook. Like I like, it's just like, because they have 2 kids now. Like, how does that look? Katie Forbes is expecting twins.
Yeah.
Like her and our, like, what does that, like, I actually want to see this. And Chelsea Green, like a fly-in from Chelsea Green to the from the East Coast to the West Coast. Like, I'm for it all. Somebody needs to throw money at them for sure. And then you throw in Queen Aminata. Like, the lineup is too good.
And also like Lexi too. That was like a curveball. And also she just got married last year.
Yep. So Diamante and Kiera Hogan, like, oh my gosh. But like, there's so much wrestling, and I mean, I guess kudos to the 6-year anniversary for sure. You know, it wasn't necessarily what we expected, but you know, it's good. 6 years is good. And you know, comparing, and we've said this so many times on this show, just not comparing both brands or AEW to other brands. AEW is in its own lane. I think it's really finding its own lane. If you remember TNA when it was on like Pop, like, you know, and then they lost that TV deal. Like, it's just like, you know, it is what it is. You know, it might not be for you, but it's wrestling nonetheless, and it's giving a lot of people different jobs. And speaking of different jobs, TNA is going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
So TNA Wrestling ends 2025 season with 3 consecutive nights of live events in Orlando, Florida, and El Paso, Texas, which is, you know, it's going to be a good look for them.
Yes.
How do you think the run for TNA has been thus far with their kind of pseudo partnership with WWE?
I actually really like that. It's very interesting. And Professor said this I think he said this like a month or 2 ago when we were on Kayfabe, because this is year 1. I know people are very getting into it, but this is like the first year. So it's like, you don't want to overthink it and think it, because there's plenty of stories to tell. It's just a matter of time. And also with the fact too, we are seeing a lot of, I mean, it did help with Trick Williams, because at least he didn't have to go up to the main roster and floating around with a lot of veterans in the TNA space. And obviously Joe Hendry being on WrestleMania and getting that social buzz, that actually did help them for them. And also with the fact too, for people who did not watch TNA, when it was the Impact Zone, when it was on Spike TV, and also for me, since I live in the East Coast, it was on Comcast Sportsnet. So you did not watch it when it first started, but also it gives an opportunity for people to really watch it, especially with specific titles, not just with their Knockouts division, but also with their X division. That's how, like, if I introduced somebody to TNA, it was because of their X division, because that's how it got me into AJ Styles. It got me into Samoa Joe. It got me into Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Jay Lethal, all those guys within that X division. And obviously, of course, they just added in the TNA International Championship belt. They are doing the work. It's very interesting, and especially with this, I can't say invasion, it's pretty much a showdown next week. I'm very happy to see. I mean, I love seeing, not the Inspiration, I still think of them as the Iconics.
The Iconics.
I was happy to see them back on NXT last night. It was very nice to see it. And also Kalani putting in that iconic plug in, but it was just so nice to see some of them back. And also Mara Sade. She was this close to saying just Jakara Jackson last night. She was this close, but she didn't. It was really nice to see that. And also with the fact too, some of them are thriving. Obviously, their knockouts division have some building to do because they did have to get rid of some people, but it's a real Australians.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yes, I know of the Iconics and Indy Hartwell. Indy's from Australia too, but it's nice to see TNA thriving and doing events, especially wrapping up the end of the year. Very curious on what they're going to do next week with Showdown.
Yeah, I mean, with the knockouts division, I think it's anything, no matter where. I mean, the ebbs and flows of a business, whether it's a show or not. Like, the knockouts division had a really great run, iconic run, and now it's in the rebuild phase. So, we definitely have to appreciate it, and we'll see what happens. But they have the opportunity. Sorry, Bila. Definitely have the opportunity to do that many shows. Is a great thing. So definitely shout out to them. And, that means I'm assuming that means business is doing well. So, kudos to them. Another kudos, and we should have went to this one first, but it is what it is. DC and AEW joined forces for the groundbreaking comic book crossover, which is interesting because, again, no shade to AEW. It's been around for 6 years. But I wonder, I'm always wondering about deals and how deals are made. And this definitely seems like, given the stuff that WWE has done with like the games, like not online games, like Nintendo games, etc. This
Nintendo
seems
64,
like this seems like something on there that would be on their level. So I wonder if if that deal was possible for WWE and they turned it down, or DC was like, this AEW is a better fit, and maybe Marvel's going to WWE. I don't know. But kudos to them for this deal.
It is. I was gonna say, really said, I'm not even gonna do it. It's late for me.
Tell everybody, tell Seb what's happening.
I mean,
he missed the beginning of the show.
I mean, for DC, for DC Comics, obviously, of course, because if you know the deal with Warner Brothers and AEW, because that's under the Warner Brothers umbrella. I think a lot of people don't know with DC, because obviously you have Batman, you have Superman, you have Wonder Woman, you have all those superheroes. So it does make sense being under that umbrella with Warner Brothers and just continuing that relationship. And plus, this is not the first time DC and AEW has collabed before. I think they did do a collaboration around last year, right before All in Wembley Stadium, where they did have a few of their stars be like comic books in a way. Like they had Darby, they had Will Ospreay, they had Swerve, Tony Storm on there. So this is a good opportunity to do a comic book in a way, which if you're a fan of DC Comics and seeing that crossover maybe with Batman or Wonder Woman or even Superman, that's actually interesting to see. And also with some of the partnership that they did for the new Superman movie. I wish they would have did more, but I'll save that for a different conversation. But that is just something to really keep in mind with the DC. I mean, I'm happy for them that they are kind of branching out into the DC Comics world. They're also doing it with HBO Max, like at least getting them some of their stars into different shows. So I'm not even gonna answer this. I'm not even gonna answer the comment. I'm not even
definitely congratulations to AEW and DC as far as these partnerships, and I think it's gonna be more of many to come. And I think this is gonna be a good look all around, just bringing in comic book fans who might not be aware of wrestling and vice versa. So I think it's gonna be strengthening the industry either way. Now another thing as far as strengthening I wouldn't say strengthening the industry, we'll kind of stay on that AEW thing. We have Will Ospreay. He names his cruiserweight Mount Rushmore. So with the people he named, which an ad decided to pop up on my thing. Who did he name? Oh, I'm gonna let you take these names. Some of these names, Courtney. This is saying you pronounce some of these names.
Let me see.
'Cause
Let's see.
Rey Mysterio's 1.
Mm-hmm. Dragon Kid is 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce. I can. Oh, let me see if I can enunciate it. Hayabusa.
Hayabusa. It's the next
yes.
one.
Yes.
Nyamuchi Morofiji.
Yeah.
Very interesting Mount Rushmore, and I know that these people have done amazing things. We just can't pronounce their names. It's funny because wrestling is worldwide, as we all know, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of one of those things that are we as North Americans, because there's so much wrestling, but we kind of stake into this North American circle, that are we missing out, which is a kind of obvious answer. Are we missing out on a lot of great wrestlers because, there's so much wrestling?
I actually kind of want to say yes on that, because it is a lot of wrestling. And also with the fact too, not many people watch New Japan. They don't watch Stardom. They don't watch some of the other wrestling that's overseas. And it's also hard to access too, because also you got to pay for that, which a lot of people are trying to figure that out.
On top of everything else.
On top of everything else. So that's really hard to do, because we're so used to watching, because the only wrestling product that we had years ago was WWE. That was the only one that was there. And then a few years later, in the 90s, you had WCW that was coming out. But we know how WCW ended. Then you threw in ECW. And then a couple years later, you also throw in TNA. And then obviously 2019 AEW comes along. So there is a lot of wrestling, but also very interesting on listening to some of the wrestlers' stories, how some of them wrestled not just in the US, but they also wrestled overseas in Japan. They wrestled overseas in Canada. They wrestled overseas in Mexico. They wrestled overseas in the UK. Also, for me, learning more about the New Japan and the Stardom because of AEW, it made me want to watch it more overseas, along with CMLL. And also with the fact too, WWE with this partnership with AAA, learning about AAA, learning about the history on how it first started, and some of the stars that were in WWE, they were wrestling in AAA that we did not know. The Rey Mysterios, the Eddie Guerreros, obviously if you threw Penta in there of the world, wrestling in there. So there is a lot of wrestling, and sometimes people dive into like one promotion, which is fine. People want to dive into one promotion, which is okay, but there is a lot of wrestling out there. And also with the fact too is learning about the different wrestlers, the different styles, and also the different promotions that are there overseas.
Very much so. It's costly. It's a costly hobby to, like, I guess, for anything if you love television. Now, with that being said, we're gonna wrap up with this really big news as far as John Cena. So his final match is gonna be December 13th, main event at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Can you believe it's been a year? Like, it's kind of crazy.
It's getting
that
close.
Now we know, like, I really wonder what he's feeling, because it's not so often, regardless if it's wrestling or not, that you can end, a job that you love, your dream job, whatever, on your time and your clock, and decide how it is. But it's like, also, as an athlete, you can kind of still think you can go, but you really can't, because Father Time is undefeated. So what do you think, like, with it drawing near, what are your feelings come to mind?
It's hard to believe it's almost like that close. And it's crazy because he debuted on my birthday in 2002, which is very interesting. And that's how I started watching wrestling in 2002. So seeing him from then up until now, it's very interesting and remarkable seeing the impact John has made, not just in the ring, but also outside the ring. Obviously, of course, with his heel turn, I know people have mixed feelings with his heel turn and how it's going on with this, but just seeing the matches he's able to put in, I mean, we already saw the match that we're going to get at Perth, Australia. Him versus AJ Styles one last time. And then after Perth, obviously, we're going to see him in War Games and a few Raws. Because I think SmackDown, he's not going to be on SmackDown anymore. He's just going to be on Raw. So he's a few appearances on Raw. But after War Games, that's when you know it's going to sink in and it's going to be reality.
Yeah. It's really crazy. It's just, can you think of, has anybody else wrestling wise done that? Like gone, because it's like a Kobe, goodbye. Like, has anybody done like, okay, I'm gonna retire, and then also be in a company big enough where it's able to do that and plan it out, whether we like the run or not. Like the fact that, like he said, you have a year, and and was able to do different stories with different folks. Like, I don't think anybody else has been able to do that. And, provided somebody doesn't get injured, I don't know. There's very few individuals that will ever be able to do that. Like,
I would probably say the only person close to it was when Sting did his retirement run in AEW.
Yeah.
I would say Sting, because he got to do it on his own terms.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sting and John Cena.
Yeah, but John, he's gonna make his final appearance on Saturday night's main event, but we get to see him wrestle in Perth, Australia, against the phenomenal AJ Styles.
There it is. Is there anything else for today that you want to kind of talk about? I know we have Mark kind of joining the John Cena final run. Mark wants to see Joan Henry as his possible opponent, but I don't know if I agree with that.
I think it's funny because Honey's been saying that the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of people have been saying the last couple of weeks Joe Hendry, because we have seen him pop up in NXT. And also it would be nice for him to wrestle because I don't want to say passing the torch, but somewhat in a passing the torch way. If you want to wrestle somebody within the next generation.
It's Joe Hendry though?
It could be a possibility. And it's crazy. Joe Hendry's mentioned this multiple times in interviews that he wants to wrestle John Cena. He's mentioned this. He's mentioned this like so many times in interviews. I'm like, come on. And we've seen the power of social media because, well, fans demanded to see AJ Styles versus John Cena.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things because, like, how do you finish your career? Do you finish it with somebody that is well known and established, or do you do the passing the torch thing? Because before he announced his retirement, he had been passing the torches to different people throughout, the better part of 5 years. So I don't know. I feel like it has to be whatever they decide. It has to be one of those things where it's like, do you remember where you were when John Cena retired? And like, then you start talking about his matches and stuff like that. But something that we're going to remember is, we're going to remember Courtney putting in the work on Timeless Elite Wednesdays and doing amazing stuff and getting, a pay bump over he said, because he's still in the streets. And with that being said, we're going to let Courtney go to bed and let us know where everybody can follow you.
Well, people can find me chirping sporadically. Ced can take me to court, but I'm going to win because people can endorse me because the people gave me feedback that they like my watch along. They still waiting for you to do a watch along. So I'm just throwing some shade out there, but people can find me chirping sporadically Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for WWT. Friendly reminder, next week, it's a Timeless Elite Tuesday because we have Title Tuesday. Pretty much it's going to be a battle between NXT and AEW, but I will be doing a watch along for AEW next Tuesday. I don't know what's going to happen. We may get a watch on for NXT. Who knows? If there's going to be Collision next week, I may do a Collision watch along if it's on Wednesday next week. If it's not on Wednesday, I'm not going to do it. But
they're just switching it up.
Yeah, they're switching up because it's baseball season. It's baseball season, and we know how it goes, and hockey's coming back too. But there will be a Timeless Elite Tuesday next week because they will be back at Daly's Place celebrating homecoming. Obviously, we had the 6th-year anniversary of Dynamite, so lots has happened. You can also find me on my socials on @CourtneyNJ11 because this past week, Honey and I did Wrestling 90s Con. So I have a lot of content that I got to post from this past week. Honey had the chance to interview Terry Reynolds. I had the chance to interview wrestling royalty with the daughter of the British Bulldog. So feel free to check out that interview. It will be posted up before the end of this week. I was very happy to interview Georgia, talking about the legacy she's continuing for her father. And also had some very interesting things saying that Natty should be women's intercontinental champion. She thinks that she should, but it was very interesting to read. So feel free to check me out on my socials. And also feel free to check me out because I'm going to be busy in a couple weeks. Also, make sure to follow ISPW, please, in the next couple weeks. We are getting ready. We do have a few events happening in the coming weeks, but the next time I will be doing commentary is Friday, November 7th. They're doing their 2nd annual Girl Power Pro Wrestling, where they're getting some of the females in the independent scene in the East Coast wrestling. It's going to be a very fun event. 2nd time they're doing this. Everybody raved about the first one. The second one's going to be a lot more bigger than that. And also, if you love independent wrestling, if you love women's wrestling, feel free to come out and support all these ladies. It is a fun show. And yeah, feel free to follow me on all my socials.
There it is. Well, thank you, Courtney, for all the work that you've been putting in for WWT and all the other companies as well. You guys can follow me everywhere at oh, nice. You guys can follow me everywhere at UK Trinidad. Make sure you check out that interview with Taya. We also have another interview dropping in another couple of days as well. We have some watch-alongs for WoW and also LFG that's going to be coming up this week. It's been a crazy, last week was kind of crazy, so we're going to catch up on all of that stuff as well. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk. You can follow us everywhere at www.talkpod.com. Thank you guys for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkPod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.